Some people move through life as if the world's judgment is a distant echo, noticeable, perhaps, but never shaping their path. They do not seek approval, nor do they crave applause. They exist quietly, confidently, in a space that feels entirely their own. Their indifference to opinion is not born of arrogance. It is born of clarity, of experience, of a recognition that external voices cannot define the truth of who they are. In a society obsessed with comparison and validation, they are a rare presence, free, untethered, and often misunderstood. They do not rebel for attention, nor do they disengage out of cynicism. They have simply discovered something few understand, that the weight of other people's judgments is optional. This is the psychology of people who don't care about others' opinions, how they see, feel, and navigate the world on their own terms. There is a certain aura around people who do not care about others' opinions. It is subtle, not loud, not the defiance of rebellion, nor the arrogance of superiority. It is quiet confidence, a calm presence shaped by knowing their own value without needing external confirmation. You notice it in the way they move through a room, unaffected by whispers or glances. Their gaze lingers where they choose, not where social expectation dictates. Their laughter does not seek approval, it simply exists. Their silence does not demand attention, it simply is. They make decisions with a certain lightness, as if the weight of judgment from strangers and acquaintances alike has no power to sway them. This is not carelessness. It is discernment honed through experience. They have watched the world pass judgment, sometimes deserved, often arbitrary, and have quietly realized, most opinions are not a reflection of reality. They are reflections of the speaker. Their independence manifests in everyday choices, a hairstyle, a wardrobe, a career path, even the people they choose to spend time with. None are determined by the imagined gaze of others. Instead, each choice is guided by personal resonance, by what feels authentic, by what aligns with an inner truth that has been patiently cultivated over time. Yet, this independence is not born in isolation. It is rarely a sudden realization or a dramatic rejection of social norms. It grows quietly, like roots beneath the soil. People who disregard opinion often show early signs of self-reliance. The child who chooses what to read rather than follow peers. The teenager who resists trends quietly. The young adult who prioritizes personal meaning over applause. These patterns signal a deepening awareness that external approval is optional, not necessary for survival, not essential for self-worth. Emotionally, their landscape is calm but complex. They may still notice judgment, feel it, even experience discomfort, but they do not allow it to dictate behavior. Criticism may sting, but it does not derail them. Praise may flatter, but it does not define them. Their self-concept is anchored internally, not in reflections cast by others. And because their foundation is internal, they carry a quiet freedom that is often mistaken for aloofness or indifference. They are also careful observers. Independence from opinion does not mean ignorance of society. On the contrary, they watch, they listen, they perceive. They understand rules, trends, and expectations. They know which doors might open or close depending on behavior, but they do not act out of fear of those doors. Knowledge guides them, external approval does not. Interestingly, this independence often manifests alongside empathy. They are not immune to others' feelings, nor are they blind to social nuance. They simply recognize a difference between acknowledging a feeling and allowing it to control their decisions. In their calm, measured responses, one sees both compassion and clarity. They may help, advise, or correct, but not to satisfy judgment or earn favor. Their actions emerge from choice, not obligation. Perhaps the most defining mark of these individuals is the absence of performance. They do not exist to impress, to belong, or to be validated. They do not shape themselves to fit molds or meet expectations. Their lives are guided by internal criteria, meaning, authenticity, integrity, and a sense of purpose that is uniquely theirs. This is the first layer of understanding, recognizing the independence that defines them. To the observer, it may seem like ease or detachment. To the individual, it is a careful cultivation of inner alignment, a quiet, steady practice of living on one's own terms, regardless of external opinion. It is here, in this emotional and behavioral landscape, that their psychological freedom begins to take root, a freedom that will guide them through challenges, decisions, and relationships with a sense of quiet certainty. The ability to move through life without being swayed by others' opinions rarely appears out of nowhere. It has roots, often buried deep in early experiences, formative lessons, and subtle patterns of upbringing. People who achieve this detachment usually carry a history that has quietly taught them the limits of external validation. Some grew up in homes where approval was scarce. Praise was rare, inconsistent, or conditional, and attention was only given when expectations were met. In such environments, a child learns early that others' approval cannot be relied upon. They notice that people's reactions are unpredictable, and that depending on them often leads to disappointment. Over time, this awareness becomes a protective mechanism. Why give power to something so unstable? Why allow the rise and fall of another's opinion to dictate one's sense of worth? Other individuals find their detachment rooted in responsibility. Perhaps they were tasked with taking care of themselves or others at an early age. They learned to make choices without seeking guidance because guidance was unavailable or unreliable. They developed independence not as an abstract ideal, but as a necessity. Decisions had consequences that could not be ignored, so they learned to trust themselves first, above all others. Sometimes, the roots of indifference to opinion emerge through repeated exposure to judgment or ridicule. Those who were criticized, mocked, or misunderstood repeatedly may gradually stop seeking approval altogether. It is not that they cease caring about connection, but that they learn the futility of basing their sense of self on external voices. They notice a pattern. The world's judgment often reflects the speaker's biases, insecurities, or ignorance, not the truth of who they are. A subtle but powerful influence comes from early moments of autonomy. A child allowed to explore, make choices, and express individuality without constant correction develops a natural resilience against social pressure. Each decision made independently becomes a small confirmation. I can trust myself. I do not need validation to act. These experiences, however small, accumulate over time, creating a psychological framework where internal judgment outweighs external critique. Interestingly, detachment often coexists with sensitivity. People who develop this trait are not impervious to others. They notice opinions, and they understand their potential impact. What changes is their relationship with those opinions. They are observed, acknowledged, but not internalized. This skill is forged through repeated experience, reflection, and sometimes necessity. Cultural and social influences also play a role. Environments that overly emphasize conformity, social ranking, or popularity may teach some individuals early on that chasing approval is exhausting and ultimately unsatisfying. Observing peers who bend, break, or suppress themselves to gain acceptance can become a lesson in caution. Survival, fulfillment, and authenticity are found internally, not in the fluctuating judgment of others. There is also a subtle paradox. People who detach from opinion often do so not because they were perfectly self-sufficient from the start, but because they discovered the fragility of relying on external validation. They learned, sometimes painfully, that the world is unpredictable, that approval is fleeting, and that worth cannot be borrowed. This detachment becomes an internal compass, guiding decisions, behaviors, and boundaries. It does not remove the need for connection or empathy. It simply recalibrates it. They engage with others fully, but with awareness that they are not obligated to conform, perform, or appease. Their interactions become choices, not obligations, creating a quiet inner freedom. The roots of this independence are as much about survival as they are about self-realization. They teach a subtle, lifelong lesson. Value comes from within, not from the mirror of others' opinions. And from these roots grows the capacity to navigate life with clarity, calm, and resilience, unaffected by fleeting external judgments. The mind of someone who does not care about others' opinions functions differently, not because it is superior, but because it has learned to prioritize internal validation over external noise. Their cognitive and emotional wiring is subtly attuned to a different set of signals, one that values self-perception, personal values, and internal consistency above the fluctuating judgments of the outside world. Psychologically, this begins with self-concept. Individuals with strong detachment from others' opinions tend to possess an internalized sense of identity that is robust and stable. Their self-worth is constructed from personal standards rather than social approval. The result is a mind that filters judgment through discernment. Does this align with who I am? Rather than do they like me? This internal anchor provides clarity and resilience in the face of criticism, gossip, or cultural pressure. Neurologically, studies suggest that the brain processes social feedback in complex ways. For most people, the orbitofrontal cortex evaluates social signals and opinions, attaching emotional significance to approval or disapproval. In those who are indifferent to opinion, this pathway is either less reactive or consciously modulated. They notice social signals, but the emotional response is muted, regulated, or quickly analyzed for practical relevance rather than personal validation. The mind recognizes the judgment without allowing it to define identity. Emotional regulation is central to this wiring. These individuals tend to develop strong metacognition, the ability to observe their own thoughts and feelings. When criticism arises, they can notice the initial emotional response, label it, and decide whether it deserves attention. Anxiety, embarrassment, or irritation may surface, but they are assessed, contextualized, and then set aside if irrelevant. This internal processing prevents external opinion from hijacking their sense of self. Another layer is learned resilience. Over time, repeated experiences of judgment, misunderstanding, or social friction reinforce the brain's capacity to withstand opinion-driven stress. Neural pathways associated with emotional response adapt, creating a subtle buffer against external influence. This does not erase sensitivity or empathy, but it transforms reactions from reflexive to intentional. People with this cognitive wiring also demonstrate selective attention. They filter stimuli through a lens of relevance, allowing only meaningful input to affect their decisions or emotions. Idle gossip, passing criticism, and superficial social comparison are observed but rarely internalized. This selective attention functions like a mental gatekeeper, preserving energy, focus, and emotional equilibrium. Yet this wiring is not innate for all. It is frequently shaped by life experience. Repeated exposure to unpredictable approval or harmful judgment teaches the brain that external validation is unreliable. Internal consistency becomes a survival tool. Cognitive flexibility develops, allowing them to weigh opinions thoughtfully rather than reactively. Over time, the mind learns the external world may comment, but it does not define. The emotional consequence is subtle but profound. They experience freedom from social anxiety, though not isolation. They are present in relationships and communities, yet not beholden to collective judgment. Their emotional equilibrium fosters clarity, independence, and the capacity to pursue personal values without compromise. It is important to note that this independence does not eliminate vulnerability. Emotional depth, moral reflection, and empathy remain intact. What changes is the mechanism. They respond to external stimuli with awareness rather than compulsion, integrating experience with insight rather than reaction. This cognitive and emotional framework explains why some people can walk through life unshaken by praise or critique, calm in the face of disapproval, and consistent in alignment with their internal compass. Their minds are wired to filter the noise, maintain perspective, and preserve the integrity of self. A quiet psychological freedom, cultivated and resilient. Even the most independent minds must live in a world that expects conformity. People who do not care about others' opinions are not immune to social pressure. They simply navigate it differently. Where most feel compelled to adjust, justify, or perform, they operate from an internal compass, choosing which influences to heed and which to release. Social pressure is subtle, persistent, and pervasive. It comes as casual comments, raised eyebrows, collective expectations, or silent judgments. For someone attuned to others' opinions, these signals can generate anxiety, self-doubt, or compulsive adaptation. For the person indifferent to opinion, the process is quieter but deliberate. First observation, then evaluation, then conscious choice. They notice the expectation, consider its relevance, and decide whether it aligns with their values. If it does not, they let it pass without resistance or resentment. This approach is not detachment born of apathy. It is discernment born of experience. Over time, repeated encounters with opinion-driven expectations teach them that yielding rarely produces genuine satisfaction. Conforming to please others often erodes authenticity, while ignoring irrelevant judgment preserves it. They understand that compliance might offer temporary acceptance, but it does not cultivate respect, clarity, or inner peace. Navigating social pressure also requires a form of internal negotiation. There is often a tension between autonomy and connection, between staying true to oneself and maintaining harmonious relationships. They do not reject others for being opinionated. Instead, they consciously decide which influence is constructive and which is intrusive. This selective engagement allows them to participate fully in life while remaining anchored to their own values. Criticism, too, is filtered carefully. They may feel the sting of negative opinions, especially from significant others or trusted communities, but the response is measured. Emotions arise naturally, hurt, surprise, or irritation, but the evaluation that follows distinguishes between what is personally relevant and what is projection, bias, or noise. They accept the useful, discard the rest, and move forward with clarity. The social world often misreads this behavior. Indifference can appear as arrogance, aloofness, or defiance. In reality, it is a form of self-preservation, a strategy to maintain consistency and integrity in a chaotic, judgment-heavy environment. They do not reject community or collaboration. They reject the erosion of self-worth that comes from allowing every opinion to dictate action. Interestingly, people who navigate social pressure successfully often develop an intuitive sense of influence. They understand which voices matter and which do not. They can listen without internalizing, observe without reacting, and participate without performing. Their relationships are built not on approval, seeking, but on authenticity, mutual respect, and choice. Even in professional or creative spaces, this navigation manifests as quiet confidence. They make decisions based on personal standards rather than consensus. They pursue projects that resonate, not those deemed acceptable or popular. Their judgment is tempered by awareness, not fear. This independence becomes a subtle yet powerful form of leadership, rooted in self-trust rather than authority or validation. There is also a rhythm to their social interaction, a balance between engagement and boundary. They are present, responsive, and compassionate, yet emotionally independent. They listen without losing themselves. They participate without surrendering their identity. And in this delicate balance, they model a form of freedom that others rarely achieve. Living within society, without being shaped by its constant commentary. Navigating social pressure is thus less about defiance and more about mastery, awareness of influence, discernment of relevance, and disciplined alignment with internal values. For those who have cultivated this skill, the world's opinions are no longer a force that directs their life. They become observers, participants, and creators, all while remaining anchored to their own sense of truth. The journey toward true indifference to others' opinions is rarely sudden. It arrives in quiet moments of realization, small shifts in perception that slowly reshape the mind. People who live free from external validation often reach this point not through instruction or philosophy, but through lived experience, a series of subtle awakenings that illuminate the futility of seeking approval. One such realization emerges in the recognition of impermanence. They notice that opinions change like seasons. What mattered yesterday feels trivial today. Praise can inflate and vanish. Criticism can sting and dissipate. Over time, they see that anchoring their sense of self to these shifting currents creates instability. The mind begins to question, why allow the ephemeral judgments of others to dictate enduring feelings of worth? This insight, small at first, gradually gains weight, shaping their emotional responses. Another turning point comes from observation. They witness peers bending, hiding, or performing to satisfy expectations, only to find exhaustion, resentment, or emptiness at the journey's end. They notice the cost of pleasing, the internal friction it produces, the identity compromised, the energy drained. They begin to understand that independence is not rebellion but preservation, a conscious choice to live authentically rather than at the mercy of others' approval. Experience also teaches them the selective power of attention. They realize that most judgments carry little relevance. They are reflections of another person's fears, biases, or insecurities. This recognition reframes social interaction. Opinions are no longer commands, but data. Useful ones are considered, irrelevant ones are released. This cognitive shift allows them to engage fully with the world without surrendering self-integrity. A profound internal shift occurs when they internalize their own standards. Self-worth, they discover, can be cultivated from principles, values, and personal growth rather than external affirmation. This internal alignment is both liberating and stabilizing. Decisions become guided by internal clarity, not fluctuating social sentiment. Actions gain authenticity because they are chosen, not performed to impress. Gradually, the fear of judgment, once an almost constant companion, begins to fade. Emotionally, these shifts are subtle but significant. Where anxiety, hesitation, or self-doubt once dominated social interactions, calm awareness takes root. They can participate in conversation without overanalyzing reactions. They can present ideas, express feelings, or make choices without preemptive self-censorship. The mental energy once spent calculating approval is redirected toward living meaningfully. This stage is also marked by humility. Detachment from opinion does not create arrogance. Rather, it fosters self-respect paired with an acute awareness of the diversity of perspectives. They understand that people will always have thoughts, judgments, and expectations, but these need not dictate behavior. This awareness allows them to move gracefully through social spaces, neither overextending nor withdrawing, neither bending nor breaking. The shift is not instant, nor is it complete. Old habits, insecurities, and reflexive concerns about perception may surface occasionally. Yet, with each small realization, the individual grows more capable of noticing these moments and choosing differently. Awareness becomes the tool of freedom, the capacity to observe without being absorbed, to reflect without reacting, to choose without fear. In essence, the turning point is an awakening to the internal sovereignty of self. They see clearly that their thoughts, emotions, and actions belong to them first. Approval is optional, judgment is not mandatory, and with this understanding comes liberation. a quiet, steady freedom that feels like a soft exhale after years of holding tension. This realization is the foundation for a life lived with integrity, calm, and authenticity. It is not the absence of social awareness, nor the lack of care, but the presence of clarity, a consciousness that one can engage with the world fully without allowing it to define the self. Indifference to others' opinions is not a destination. It is a practice that integrates into life gradually, shaping choices, relationships, and presence. People who cultivate this mindset do not simply stop caring. They redirect their attention toward what truly matters, aligning thoughts, behaviors, and values with internal truths, rather than external pressures. Integration begins with boundaries. They recognize which voices are relevant, which influence is constructive, and which judgments are noise. These boundaries are not rigid walls. They are flexible markers that protect energy and preserve authenticity. Choosing where to invest attention, when to engage, and when to release concern becomes a form of quiet mastery. In doing so, they create mental space to focus on meaningful growth rather than performative survival. Decision-making becomes simpler and more deliberate. Instead of constantly second-guessing or seeking reassurance, they consult their own standards. Choices about careers, relationships, appearance, or social participation are guided by resonance rather than conformity. This internal alignment fosters confidence, reduces stress, and enables consistent action. Life moves forward with purpose, and hesitation born of fear of judgment diminishes. Emotional integration follows naturally. People indifferent to opinion often cultivate emotional self-regulation, observing feelings without allowing them to dictate behavior. Discomfort, criticism, or misunderstanding may arise, but their response is intentional rather than reflexive. They maintain empathy and connection while preserving their own equilibrium. This skill allows them to navigate both supportive and challenging environments with calm clarity. Social relationships also shift. They no longer engage to be liked, approved, or validated. Instead, interactions are chosen consciously, emphasizing authenticity, respect, and mutual understanding. Friendships and partnerships are based on genuine connection rather than expectation management. Others often sense this authenticity and respond with trust, admiration, or relief. While some may misinterpret independence as aloofness, those who understand their depth recognize the rare value of presence untainted by obligation. Freedom manifests as psychological resilience. The individual is less swayed by gossip, criticism, or collective pressure. They can voice opinions, pursue unconventional paths, and embrace vulnerability without fear of social punishment. Freedom, in this context, is not rebellion. It is the absence of internal coercion, the liberty to live in alignment with self rather than expectation. Creativity, purpose, and exploration flourish within this integration. By detaching from external evaluation, energy is redirected toward growth, learning, and contribution. Work is pursued with genuine interest rather than visibility. Expression flows without performative restraint. Goals are internalized, personal, and meaningful, rather than designed to impress or conform. Life becomes an unfolding of intentional choices rather than a series of reactions to social pressure. Importantly, integration is iterative. Independence from opinion is not absolute. Social environments, past conditioning, and emotional reflexes continue to present challenges. But each encounter is an opportunity to reaffirm choice, realign action, and deepen internal freedom. The practice becomes a cycle of awareness, reflection, and deliberate engagement. Ultimately, integration is the living embodiment of clarity. It is the ability to navigate life fully, empathetically, and courageously, without the constant weight of judgment. It is the transformation of insight into practice, the merging of understanding with behavior. The person who has integrated this mindset moves through the world lightly, anchored in self, resilient to opinion, and capable of deep connection without compromise. This is the quiet liberation that comes from truly valuing one's own voice above the noise of the crowd. A life lived fully, authentically, and with internal sovereignty. There is a quiet grace in living untethered from the judgments of others. It is not flamboyant or dramatic. It does not demand attention or recognition. It is the soft, steady rhythm of a life aligned with inner truth, moving through the world without fear, hesitation, or compromise. People who do not care about others' opinions carry a subtle freedom that many never experience. They wake, think, and act guided not by whispers in the crowd, but by the quiet voice within. Each choice, each word, each gesture is filtered through the lens of personal resonance. They have discovered a truth that most spend their lives chasing. Approval is optional, but self-respect is essential. This freedom is not born of arrogance or rebellion. It emerges from reflection, experience, and understanding. They have witnessed the instability of opinion, the fleeting nature of praise, the weight of criticism, and the emptiness of performing to satisfy expectations. Slowly, quietly, they have turned inward, building a sanctuary of self-worth that cannot be shaken by external voices. And in this internal refuge, they learn something profound. That life is not measured by how others see them, but by how fully they inhabit themselves. They notice the subtle textures of existence, the warmth of morning light, the stillness of an empty street, the sound of a friend's laughter, the calm that comes with decision made in alignment with inner truth. They experience the world without mediation, without constant evaluation, without the invisible chains of judgment. Yet their freedom is not isolation. They still observe, empathize, and connect. They participate in communities, engage in relationships, and respond to others with care and awareness. But the connection is chosen, not demanded. Presence is deliberate, not reactive. They give without expecting approval, and they accept without needing validation. Their interactions are a reflection of authenticity rather than performance. There is also a quiet courage in this state, choosing self-alignment in a world obsessed with comparison, approval, and hierarchy requires vigilance. It requires patience, reflection, and the willingness to tolerate temporary discomfort for long-term integrity. It requires the trust that living authentically, even when misunderstood, is far more valuable than bending to meet expectation. They are neither immune to criticism nor indifferent to human connection. They simply understand the difference between influence and control. Opinions are data, not directives. Observation is awareness, not obligation. Judgment is acknowledged, not internalized. And in this understanding, they discover stability, clarity, and peace. The poetic truth of their existence is this: when a life is lived according to internal compass rather than external approval, the heart moves more lightly, the mind thinks more clearly, and the spirit rests more fully. Their world is quieter because they no longer carry the constant noise of judgment. Their actions are deliberate because they act from meaning, not expectation. Their relationships are profound because they engage fully, free from the distortion of performance. Perhaps the greatest gift is the quiet example they provide. Without words or instruction, they model a way of living that is rare and valuable, a life in which freedom, authenticity, and inner peace are possible. They remind others that it is not rebellion to resist external pressures. It is self-respect. It is not arrogance to ignore opinion. It is sovereignty. And so, their story ends as it began, not with drama or spectacle, but with presence. The calm of knowing, the clarity of truth, and the quiet satisfaction of a life lived according to the self, not the crowd. In the end, the psychology of people who do not care about others' opinions is a story of liberation. It is the story of the mind learning to trust itself, the heart learning to rest, and the soul learning that the most profound freedom is found not in rebellion, but in alignment with who they truly are. And in that alignment, they walk gently, steadfastly, and unshakably through a world that may judge, critique, or misunderstand, but never defining them again.